So, all right, welcome. Thanks for joining me. We're going to start tonight by drawing this French door here. Okay, so what we're gonna do to start is I like to find the midpoint, and I'm gonna go ahead and just go to my construction layer so I can draw a line on my construction layer from the midpoint of this one to the midpoint here. Okay, so that's gonna give me center. I could go and do all the measuring, but if you look at this, I gave you the door right in the middle, right? You got 16.6 each way of the door jamb. So the easiest way to create your other doors is off of this center mark. So I'm just going to go ahead and move over to the door layer. If I select this and copy it, I'm going to copy it 3 feet this way and 3 feet this way. Now you notice even though I tried to change the layer over, the way that copying works likes to maintain the layer that it's on. So we're going to go ahead and select both of these and click this construction drop down and make it go to doors. So now we've got our first 2 points of our door jamb, and we don't really need this construction line anymore. Now that we know where our edges of our 6-foot door are. You can leave it there. It's not hurting anything, okay, because we can always turn it off. Right, that's why we have layers. We can turn things on and off. But let's go ahead now and look at what else do we need for this door. So we created some line work where the opening is, right? Did someone have a question? Okay. So we created some line work. What I did is just created these edges, right? And the edges are blue in this just because they're an exterior wall. It's fine. They can be blue or red. I don't care what color you want to do that. I made them red so they stand out here. So we know that this door is going to be 3 feet long because it's a 6-foot opening and there's going to be 2 of them. Typically, you're not going to have a 4-foot door and a 2-foot door and a 6-foot opening. However, I will say that I have seen it. We have installed it based on the equipment that's going in there and what we needed to do, right? So they do make funky doors, but this is just a standard opening that's going to be the same 2 doors. So let's go to our line, and we're going to draw our line from the edge of the door jamb down 3 feet. And we can go ahead and we can mirror this later, okay? Or we can copy it over. I don't care. I'm going to copy this line. And I'm just going to copy it just a little bit. I don't care where it goes. The end point is what I care about later, and we're going to move it back. I just don't want to copy it on top of the original because it's hard to tell what's going on. So now this is a little bit of the tricky part. We're going to go ahead and rotate this center line. Okay, so using our rotate command or rotate on our keyboard, we're going to specify the base point, which we want. I want this edge to stay the same, and I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. I'll take my ortho off. So 45 degrees puts me right there. And I'm going to move it back over to where my door jamb is. So at this point, we now have the 3 points that we need for our arc. And we can use a 3-point arc. So we're going to click point 1, point 2, and point 3. So I like to do things once and mirror things if I can. I'd rather not spend a bunch of extra time drawing this twice because I don't want to rotate this again. So I can delete this piece now. I'm going to copy this line over 2 inches because that's the thickness of my door. 2 inches. And then I'm just going to draw a little line here to represent that. All right. So now that I've got one door drawn, I could come over and do the exact same thing, or I can select the objects I want. I want to grab this little line as well. Use my mirror command and mirror about the center of the door. So click here, click there. No, we don't want to erase the source object. And now I've got a French door that opens both ways. Any questions on that? Anything you want me to repeat and go back and do again? Okay. So this line, the one other thing that we would need to do to complete this is trim this back, right? Get rid of this center line. And then for now, I'm going to make this small little line. I'm going to make that blue just to show that that's still part of the exterior wall. Now that I've got that just what I want, I can go ahead and select just the door items. And we're going to type in block and build a 6-foot French door. Oh, let's do this. Let's go back to block editor. See, I don't really want to do this. That's why I don't like doing that. I hit enter too quick. Hold up. So sometimes, to be honest, and I hate the fact that you can't. Oh, sweet. Did I just close my drawing without saving it? Well, that's fun. There is no undo right there. Open. Wow. Well, that's fun. All right, Adam, let's see how good you are. You want to email me your file? Okay.
Yeah, can do.
Cool. Send it to.
You want the DWG, right?
I want the DWG, and you can just send it to Graham T at V Electric. That'll be quicker. Sorry about that. I hit one wrong button trying to close the editor. That's why I hit the editor. It's you get confused in it. It's annoying. It doesn't work the same way, and ultimately made me quit my program. I mean, I guess I could redraw this in about 5 minutes, but I think Adam is going to get me an email quicker than that. So,
And do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we will proceed. In the meantime, if you guys want to take your 5-minute break, we can do that now. I think that's a good stopping point for that, because the next thing we're going to go into is the elevation. So this is a perfect time to take a break. We'll get this pulled up and start back at 6:55.
Graham, you said that was Graham T at velectric.com?
Yep.
Copy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Did you know? I sent that from my UW email. Let me know if you don't get it in a few minutes.
Let's see. This server just refreshes a lot faster than the other ones. So. Come on. There you go. Awesome. Now this says week 5. Is this week 5 or 6? Just checking. Like it's week
It should be
6.
week 6. I mislabeled it.
Okay, okay, no worries, no worries. I was saving it, so it's like I might as well call it the right thing.
Yeah. I started typing out my name and I was like, oh, he doesn't care about that.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, for the type
Perfect. Look at this.
or
Awesome.
something.
Thank you so much. This is great. Cool. Man, looks like I did my own work. All right.
I think I maybe kind of cheated a little bit, since I knew we were doing different measurements. All of the line segments are individual. So, I mean, it took a little bit longer,
I
but
did. That's how all mine were.
okay.
That's how I did
I wasn't
mine.
sure if maybe you did
A
polylines for the
polyline
wall.
around it. Nah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can, right? But no, they were just line segments. That's perfect.
Yeah. So I did everything in the exterior wall in the blue. And then since I knew which sections were going to be
Now,
window, I
okay, so hold on. So we did have this conversation and you weren't okay, that's what you're saying. So we had this conversation. I think it was Mackenzie. Did you bring this up? Yeah. So she had asked, hey, do you want to cut and trim this back? Or do you want this to be a wall with a window on top of it? And the problem with this, there's no problem necessarily, but if I turn off windows,
yeah,
I'm left
you
with
still have
gaps,
openings.
right?
Gotcha.
So what we're going to do real quick, I'm going to select these. Hit delete, and then I'm just going to drag this guy back over. And then when I turn a wall off or turn a window
You have
off,
a
they
continuous
won't.
line.
Exactly. So kind of a quick way to do it, down and dirty, but it keeps us from having, if I turn stuff off later, we're not going to have this issue. So
Sure. Cool. No, that's a good tip.
but yeah,
Yes.
I would draw this as a rectangle. I would offset the rectangle and then
inward.
place your windows on top.
Yep.
Just so then that way you can turn off your windows, everything's on its own layer still. And the one other thing that we talked about was that technically there's going to be a wall underneath and above that window, right?
Yes.
So, because that's a cutout in the window. So if you were looking straight down at a framing, you would still see a wall, right?
Right.
So
It was good to still show that line work.
right, exactly.
Cool.
And the windows technically are a cut for us, but we know what's going on, right? Because we're just saying, hey, these windows are here. But if you're looking down from above, you wouldn't really see them, right? Because the framing is there. You're going to have a king stud above it and everything. So, but what you would see is you might see framing on the edges, right? And so there's going to show openings and that kind of stuff. So we still represent them in the wall, just like this when you have windows.
Cool. Okay. So I just need to correct these exterior walls.
Yeah, and you don't need to. You're fine. You don't need to. You're fine.
Well,
that's good.
That's good practice, man.
Okay, go for it. If you want to, okay, you ready for this? You could, if you wanted to, this might be an even quicker trick. So turn off. Okay, we're gonna try this one for you. Turn off your windows. Go and turn off your door. All you see is blue lines. Okay. I want you to go click that line, and I want you to, since you have this dimension here, I already have things set. So I want you to click this line, right click, and click select similar. And it's going to select all of those lines. Okay. So with all of them selected, we could hit delete, come up here, draw a rectangle.
There you go.
From here to here, and then use our offset command offset 6 inches
Inward.
inward. And now you can trim now we can turn this back on, right? Turn your doors, turn your windows on. And it looks like, okay, we still need to draw like 2 lines, right? We need to draw this line. And then same thing here, because there's no way for us to make a jam. And now we can trim this out. 1, 2, 3, and you've got everything on built with a wall and windows, continuous line. You're not trimming things back. That's actually, when you select that, it selects everything part of that line, right? Whereas if you just did what I did earlier, where it's deleted most of them and then dragged the line back, you still have to select all these individually, right? So since this is a rectangle, so advantages to using rectangles and that kind of stuff.
So how would you fix the linear dimension next to the door? Yeah, because I had that same issue come up earlier.
So what happened?
So as I was dragging the lines to make it a single segment, it also moved the annotation. So it should be, I think it's a 7 foot and then a 1 foot, or a 5 foot and then a 1 foot gap.
Wait, why is it? Oh, did I change? I changed the aerial. Whoops. Sometimes you might need to just
redraw it.
Cool. All right. Everyone back at 6:55. All right. So tonight I'd like to say that we're going to get through 4 elevations. We probably will not. That being said, I really want to try to get through at least this north wall. If we can get through that, then we can move on from there. But this is what we're going to learn tonight is a little bit of old school drafting technique. Okay, so this is same technique that they're using with a pencil and a piece of paper back in, early drafting days. Okay, we're using a computer, but it's the same basic concepts. So has anyone heard of a story pole before? Or a storyboard? Daniel, what's a story pole?
Hold on.
No, you weren't. You unmuted yourself. Hold up. You're back to mute.
Am I mute?
You're good. You're good now.
I'm good.
Awesome.
Okay.
What's
Yeah,
a story pole?
How I've used a story pole is just like an actual pole where I have measurements on it where I can mark out like other measurements or whatever, like usually vertically or whatever. I can just stick it up to something and go.
Nailed it. Okay. So that's a story pole. You've used it in real life in the field. Okay. This is a story pole. It's the exact same idea and concept. We're just going to be doing it in our AutoCAD. Okay. Same basic ideas. So we're just going to be transferring that type of measurement tool into a digital world. Okay. So what we're going to be doing tonight is, has anyone heard of a butterfly drawing when it's referring to a room or a building or maybe an electrical vault? Has anyone heard that term before? Butterfly. Okay, cool. So a butterfly drawing essentially is taking a plan view and we're going to fold out the walls. We're going to take those walls and fold them out and create a 2D drawing that has 5 views on it. One view, that's our floor plan, and then a view for our north elevation, a view for our east elevation, a view for our south elevation, and a view for our west elevation. Okay. So ultimately, you end up with a drawing that looks something like this, where we end up with an elevation on each side. Okay, and we'll do this properly. Okay, but this is ultimately what we end up with. The layout is This is going to be the north wall. This is our south wall. This is our east wall, and this is our west wall. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to use construction lines and a story pole to draw this out and put all of our windows and everything where they need to go without using dimensions. Okay. So that's the key to a story pole is we'll utilize some dimensions on the story pole just so we can show what the different heights are, but we're not going to have to dimension everything out. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. So ultimately, though, this is what we're trying to accomplish is to have a view that show or a plan view and then four elevation views, one north, one east, one south, and one west. If we get a north and an east and a south done today, great. If not, if we just get a north, that's fine. We'll pick this up next week. Okay. But this is the next phase besides floor plans that we're going to be doing and utilizing for our final projects. So our projects will include some elevation views. This is how we draw them. Okay, so I'm going to delete these squares out here again. They were just there to basically show you kind of what the end product is going to look like as far as a layout. I'm going to turn this UCS icon off because I don't want to see it right now. So you can do that if it gets annoying. You can do that right here and click that no button in your properties and turn that UCS off. UCS is a universal coordinate system, and that's the point. Essentially, where that marker is the point 0, 0, 0 in a 3D world. All right, so let's go over to our construction layer. Turn on our construction layer. So our construction layer is current. And then I want to click this drop down and I want to turn off our dimensions. What'd I do? Turn off our dimensions. Sorry, I clicked F points. So we should be left with something that just looks like this. Very clean, simple, shows a door, some windows, and the outline of the walls, right? If you have other things on construction layers right now that are in the way that maybe you're using, and you want to get rid of them, you can. If not, that's fine too. Again, we're going to end up turning this layer off when we turn in your final project and or final, drawing for the night, right? You can turn this on and off as you need. So first things first, let's go ahead and give ourselves some space. So I'm going to go up here. We're going to be drawing a lot of lines tonight. Again, these are going to be lines, not polylines for everything we're drawing. And you'll see why in a little bit, because we're creating lines that intersect each other. We're not creating necessarily square windows right now. So let's go ahead and use this line button or line command. Again, make sure you're on the construction layer with your dimensions turned off. And we're going to go ahead and draw a line straight up. And I'm just going to make this line 10 feet long. I think 10 feet. Oh, I've said 10 inches. Let's go ahead and delete that and draw a new one and make sure that this line is going ortho. So straight up, and it's going to be 10 feet. Once I have that line there, we can draw one more line on our construction layer, and we're just going to draw this line. I don't know. We can draw it 10 feet to the west. Okay, so we've got a line that goes 10 foot up and 10 foot west. So what this is right here, this point right here is going to be the bottom left corner of our elevation view as we draw it right now. Okay. You'll notice that when we draw it, the elevation is going to look like you were looking at it from the inside of the house based on where the windows are going to lay up or lay out, I should say. And we're going to end up mirroring it and flipping it around. But this bottom corner right here is going to be where our bottom wall is. Okay. So let's not worry about drawing walls yet. Let's go ahead and draw some lines. So what is a good height for the bottom of our windowsill?
Like 4 feet.
4 feet. I like that number. Okay. So anywhere along your line, I don't care where it is, as long as it's along it, we're going to draw a line straight up and we're going to type in 4 feet and hit enter. Now, just because I like to always know exactly how long that line is by a visual check, not having to click into the properties, I'm going to come here and on my construction layer still, because this is still a dimension for the construction line, I'm going to go ahead and put a dimension. So I'm going to put a linear dimension from the top to bottom, pull it out, and show that I've got a line that's 4 feet tall. All right. What's a good height for the top of our windowsill? So if we've got a 4-foot bottom, and let's just make the wall, let's just say your wall is 10 feet high. We're going to make 10-foot walls. That's fine.
About 2 feet.
So the top is underneath the bottom of the window.
Oh, for a straight line. So I guess that would be what, 8 feet?
So you want it 2 feet down from the top, is what you were saying.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Good. That works. Let's make an 8-foot line. Okay. Because right now we don't have a top, right? We don't know where top is. I told you it was 10 feet, but we haven't drawn something there to give us that location yet, right? So let's go ahead and just draw another line here, 8 feet up. And once again, let's come over, use our dimensioning tool and throw a quick dimension on it. So now we know exactly where 8 foot is, where 4 foot is. Make sense? So these are what we're going to refer to as our story poles. Okay, this is our 4-foot story pole. This is our 8-foot story pole. Okay. What I'd like to do now is draw the face of this wall. So we know that this wall is 40 feet long, but I don't need to know that that wall is 40 feet long. So the only thing else I need to know is where my 10-foot distance is. So let's do this. Let's draw one more story pole at the very end of this one, and let's make this one 10 feet. And then last but not least, I'll throw in one more dimension in here. We'll put a 10-foot dimension in. Now we have everything that we need to know to place all of our windows exactly where they lie in elevation view. So what I want to do is we're going to go and we're going to change this to the exterior wall layer. And I want to draw a line from here straight over. Okay, right now, don't worry about how long your lines are. I know you could type in 40 feet and make it exact. Okay, that's not the point of this exercise right now. So if you make it 55 feet or you make it 47 feet, I don't care. Okay, what I don't want to do is just make it 40 feet because I want to use our trim command and get comfortable with it. Okay, so go ahead and, let's go 50 feet. If you want to type in numbers, let's type in 50 feet. Give us some extra room, right? Now, one thing that we can do, we could do this from the current layer that we're on, but considering that this line is on a construction layer, let's go ahead and move back to our construction layer and draw a line that goes from this wall straight to the bottom, right? So just a straight intersection. You can either intersect it or you can draw it straight up through it. I don't care, right? If you do end up drawing it through, we're going to want to use our trim command and trim this piece off of it. Okay, so we don't want anything extending past that line for the construction line. All right. So far so good. Does everyone have a couple construction lines 10 feet away, and you've got a baseline for our wall, right? This is going to be the bottom of our north wall. All right, so here's where it gets a little bit more fun. We're going to use this line. Do you need a plug? You can use, I've got a plug right here. Yeah, there's plugs at the bottom. So we're going to utilize our story poles and our construction lines and draw out this whole wall. So again, I moved this to construction line to draw this last one, but now the next lines that we're going to be drawing are actually part of our wall since we have all of the information that we need. So we're going to move this back over to our exterior wall layer. All right, and now that that's my current layer, I'm going to draw some straight lines. So I can draw a line from this corner straight up. Again, escape between them to exit the command. I can draw a line from this corner straight up. Again, it doesn't matter how long these lines are. We're going to trim them back out. And then last but not least, we're going to draw a line off the 10-foot story pole straight east. And now we have a 10-foot high by 40 foot wide wall, right? So you can do a couple things at this point. We could go ahead and clean this up and trim it. I'm going to leave it messy right now. We're going to make this thing a mess, okay? And we will trim it all up together at the end, okay? So let's go ahead now and move to our window layer because since we've got our exterior wall drawn, it's time to draw the windows. So let's move to our window layer. And the same basic principles are going to apply. That we're going to take a line, and instead of just taking it from the corner of the wall, we now need to know where every intersection of the window is. So we're going to take a line from every window edge and take it straight north. So if I take a line from the bottom corner, from this corner of the window, right, the left side of the window, straight up, hit escape. And you can hit enter again to start the command. Take that window straight up. This window straight up. Again, you could copy these over. I'm just drawing it how they would draw it if you were actually drafting this, right? If you're drafting by hand, you don't have a copy button, right? There's no, here, let me cut this out and paste it over here. It doesn't work like that. So I'm just drawing it how they did old school drafting. If you want to use copy, I don't care. So, but essentially what we did is we created lines that are going straight up from the edge of every window, right? So we now know we transfer the window edges to the elevation view. And last but not least, we need 2 more lines for the bottom windowsill. The top windowsill. Now we have a bunch of lines on here, and it kind of looks like a mess, but it's not bad. So using our trim command, and there's a couple different ways to trim, right? You can click individual lines. You can click and drag to the left, and it will trim every single line that you cross. Same thing with click and drag to the right. It's gonna trim every line that you cross out there, right? So I could do something like this. I could do something like that. I could do something like this. I can do something like this. And then I just need to trim out the edges. And now I have all of my windows in the right place without spending time measuring, without moving lines 5 feet away from this location, right? Does anybody see, so last but not least, let's go ahead and just put some basic, make these look a little bit more like windows. Just put a line across from, we'll just make them 4 pane, all of them 4 pane windows. So just take a line from your center, from the top and the bottom. And yes, you could have made one of them and copied it around, okay? So, but now we got something that looks like some windows, right? And last but not least, I'll trim these lines out because these are still construction line. They're being utilized, but they're no longer needed, right? And I'll trim this guy. So looks pretty good. Can anyone see one problem with this exterior elevation? We're making an exterior elevation.
No height.
There's height on your story pole. You're fine.
Oh, okay.
Think about where we're standing to make that happen. So if you were looking at an exterior wall, would it look like that? Okay, I get that. What I'm trying to get at is this view right now that we just made is if you are standing in the middle of the living room and you're looking towards the north wall. That's how the windows are oriented, right? If you were standing outside of the house, those windows would be flunked. Does that make sense? So in order to take care of that, we can grab all of this, use our mirror command, and mirror it about this axis, delete the first one, and then we can move it back over. Because if we were standing outside, we would have a bigger gap to our right, right? You're gonna have a bigger gap here. So here, I'm gonna move this 40 feet back. But this is actually, and I know this might be kind of hard to tell. Let's go ahead and do this. I'll delete this window. So that window is actually this window. Does that make sense? Because you're looking at this backwards. We want to be looking at an exterior view facing inward, not inside looking out. Does that make sense? Should we do something else to make it a little bit? Let's do this. Let's see. If I delete this one here, let's delete this, and then it makes. So now when you're looking at it, you've got a big gap on your left-hand side, right? If you were standing out here looking down towards it. And that's the same as what we want to show on this elevation, is that if you're looking at it from the outside. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of tricky. When we do the bottom one here, it will make a little bit more sense. Okay, we might end up flipping it over, but same basic principles. All right, let's go ahead and add some siding to this. Okay, I heard someone wanted some siding on it. So how might we do that? How might we
Hatching?
put hatching? There we go. So if we go to our hatching command, which is this little guy right here, and we click on our hatch, and we come in here, we can probably find something. There's brick. I don't really see a good like straight siding. I'm just gonna put brick on it. I think that'll look nice. And we want to hatch this area. Now I want it to be on my exterior wall layer. I don't want it, I want it to be on blue. So before I drop that hatch, I'm gonna go ahead and change my layer back to exterior walls. Come here, and now we can pick whatever brick hatch we want. I thought we might see something that's. Oh, here we go. Here's more. Site work. Wood boards here. Here, let's do that. I'll put some wood boards on it. Now, those look like they're really, really small compared to how big I want it. So I could change this hatch size right here to maybe twice that size, or maybe I want it 4 times that size. No. Yeah, that looks about good. Maybe I want it 6 times the size. There you go.
Hey Graham, just a heads up. I think that hatching is only an MEP. I don't see that in AutoCAD 24.
Okay. That's probably true. I probably have a few add-ins. I think I might have another I think I might have a hatch file loaded into this as well on my end. So it doesn't matter what you pick. There might be one right here that just says user. See if you've got this user one. And that looks like it's a, but I don't care what you have. If you want brick, if you want concrete on there, if you want to make it some gravel, I don't care.
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you like when I here? Can I share my screen real quick?
You can. Let me yeah, go ahead and share. Let me just choose something real quick for this.
Yeah, I just when I click on like if I pick a hatch, it just says, which I didn't have this problem before. It just shows up all blue. So I don't know.
Well, it's because of the size of it. So go ahead and share. I'm stopping the share. So you need to change the scale of that hatch. That's what I was saying. I made mine 6.
Oh, okay.
To increase the board size.
Yeah. See, like if I click on it, see, it's just like.
Okay, perfect. Now hit us. Now go up to that scale. Click on it. That's fine. Go to hatchet.
Say I want to use this one.
Okay, so before you can either do this before or after, but where that it says 1 right there to the right, 1.0000.
Oh,
change
yeah,
that to 10.
Turn it up to 10.
Yeah. You can type in 10. It might be faster.
Oh, that'd be a lot faster. Yeah.
Okay, now try to drop that hatch on the wall.
Oh yeah, way better. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just all about the scale, and the scale changes depending on the hatch pattern you're using, right? So the hatch pattern that you're using may start as like a 4-inch by 4-inch brick, right? But maybe you wanted to represent a CMU block that's 12 inches, right?
Yeah.
You could scale that up by a factor of 3, and now it's 3 times the size, right? Maybe what they're doing is, you know, bamboo wood flooring size, right? So you got tiny little slivers. It's all dependent on what you're trying to accomplish, right? But that scale will get you into the ballpark. And again, we're not trying to be exact. It's just a good visual tool to kind of see what's going on.
All right. Sorry to bog you down.
Nope, that's good. Thank you, because that probably helps somebody else, right?
Where was that drop down again? I just got done mirroring it.
The drop down for the hatch.
Yeah, the hatching.
So here, let me share my screen again and we'll go back to. Awesome. Were you able to move it back over after you mirrored it?
Yeah, I got
Okay,
that. I got
awesome.
that done.
Okay, so let me
Now-
do this. Are you on your, have you moved back over to your exterior wall layer?
Yes.
So let's then go to this hatch button.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And now right here, this pattern, you can just scroll down
Oh, that's
and
fun.
get more. And then that hatch pattern scale exists right here. And you can change that to like 10 and make something like 10 times the size. Look at how big those bricks are. They're like 12 feet, right? Or I can make it 1, but this is what I was saying. My 1 on this looks fine, whereas Daniel's scale 1 was really, really tiny. It all depends on what the hatch pattern starts with. Okay, and there's no scientific rule about the hatch. It's all just graphic diagrammatic. It's no one's measuring off of them. Okay, so the scaling is just there to kind of get you close.
How do you get the pattern to populate and not just the color?
So that's what we're talking. So is it solid blue right now for you?
Yeah, it's solid blue, and I want to do the
So
hound
go to
scale.
that. Go to this hatch. Create this hatch right here.
Okay.
This scale and change that to like 10 or 20. If yours is super blue, make it much bigger, and then you should start to see gapping in there and start to see the hatch come through.
Okay.
Do you see that?
I think so.
Maybe make it 100. It all depends on what type of hatch you're using and like what it was drawn at. Okay. Again, my scale right here is just 1, right? So it's all relative to whatever pattern you're using.
Got
Okay.
it.
So you may need to bump that to, and you can do the other way too. Like this is 1 right now. You can make this 0.25. So I can make that 4 times as big by giving it a decimal point. Right. So 4 times as small to make it your, make the spacing 4 times larger to make, 16 of them. We could type in a quarter or 0.25 of a scale, right? Or 0.1. So whatever you need to make it look right to you. That's all we're looking at.
Cute. Cute. Love it.
I'm having a hard time. It's like automatically filling in my windows too, but I'm on a MacBook, so I'm kind of struggling with it.
Okay,
So
that's cool. Let's share, please.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Fine. Oh my God.
Okay, so hatch,
Yep.
and then I got brick chosen here,
Okay.
and then
So click right there. Click. What are you?
So yeah, when I click there, that's
Okay. Okay. It's wanting you to select here. Okay. Hit escape. Hit escape. Right there it says select boundary. So
right here.
instead of change that to select. Is there a drop down?
No.
Click pick points instead. Now click into there. Now there you go.
Nice. Okay.
Now I think just because I want to try it, can you go back 1 step? Go back to where it says pick points, click select boundary, and this time I want you just to hover over the edge wall. Right there. Click that.
Yeah, that's what
No,
I
it
did the
doesn't.
first time I did all of them, and so that's when it did.
So, but then it wants to do everything inside. Okay, so that's what I wanted to just see and let other
Mhm.
people see what that did, right? So definitely you want to use the pick points, and that's going to allow you to pick internal points, right? If
Nice.
you wanted to just do 1 window pane, hit escape or control Z, you could do 1 window pane, right? You could do anything that's internal now. Click it and set it. I think it shouldn't be.
Here?
Yeah. Click into there.
I'm
You
clicking.
click right there?
Yep.
You are?
Yep. Yeah. What does
Okay,
it do?
now hit like enter. Weird. What do you got going on? Zoom in. You've got some like hatch that's not.
Hmm.
I don't know what's your, oh, what's that going on? You've got like a split thing going on over there.
Yeah, it's like
Click
yeah.
that split button. Go up, select boundary, and then 3 to the right. So go to your right, almost, yeah, right there. What's that do?
mm, create
Create
separate-
separated hatchets.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
think that's what we wanted. Weird. I'll look into why yours is doing this. Real quick, go back just to the right of the brick pattern. There's a blue square.
Hmm.
To
This
the
one?
right. Yeah, what's that? That's color. What's the other one? Background color. Okay, so and color is what we want.
Mm,
That is weird. Now, is there some way? No, because it would have filled in the rest of it. Huh. I've never seen a hatch do this. This is very bizarre.
yeah.
Because a hatch should be, if you pick an internal point, it shouldn't go outside of the internal point unless there's some reason that that line is broken.
Huh. Okay. Well,
Well, just try to pick points and do the whole thing. Click that and just let's move on.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I don't want to click the end button. I want to click my share screen. Okay, let's go back to this. All right, so we should have one wall. Now, if we wanted to, we could go ahead and dimension this. I think at this point, you guys should know how to dimension the wall. Do we want to go over that, or does everyone feel comfortable with dimensioning their wall?
No, we were gonna do mute, right? Or not mute, but mirror. Or yeah.
We've already mirrored it, right?
Okay.
Have you mirrored yours?
No. I missed that.
You missed that. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to mirror this over and I'll just delete it, but let me copy this up. Okay. So we want to select everything on that wall, use our mirror command. And then we want to click the points on the right-hand side of the wall, the top and the bottom, or the bottom and the top. It doesn't matter which order you click them in. And we want to say, yes, delete the source object. So Y, enter, it'll delete that original, and then we can move this one back 40 feet over.
Okay.
Okay, and but make sure when you grab that, like, I don't know if anyone else saw that, but I meant to grab the whole thing, but it only grabbed the hatch on me. And so I moved the hatch. Move the hatch 40 feet, but I left the wall and the window where it was, right? Because it only grabbed that hatched item. And once a hatched item has a boundary defined, you can move that all you want. It's not going to be constrained by the boundary anymore. It's just saying, hey, at this point in time, that's where the boundary was. I'm going to make a hatch with those edges. Okay. But that's not necessarily constrained by this wall edge. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, I'm going to delete that and work back with this one. All right, so if you didn't get that one fully, let's go ahead and try to do it one more time on the other. We're going to go do the east wall right now. So same basic principles, except this time, we're going to be working sideways. Okay. So our story pole, instead of going vertical like this, is going to go vertical off of the line, which means it's actually going to face to the east. Okay. We're going to rotate this view once we're done creating where all the windows go and the walls. But for now, we're going to work on this a little sideways. Okay. So let's go back to our construction work layer. And just like before, I'm gonna go ahead and draw a line, and I'm gonna draw a line this time 10 feet east and then 10 foot north, right? And give us the same basic setup we had here, except this time we're gonna be going this way. So before we did 4 and 8, okay, this window I want it to be, it's just one window on the side of the building. I want to go 2 and 9 for our sill height. So first things first, we can draw our 2-foot story pole. So come anywhere off this line and we're going to draw us 2 feet straight out. And then again, I like to dimension this while I'm doing it right now. So when I come back, I can clearly see what the lengths of my different story poles are. All right, so that one's at 2 feet. I'm gonna make another one at 9 feet. And then last but not least, I want the height of my wall to be 10 feet. So I'm going to and then we're going to dimension off of that. So same basic thing here, it's just we're sideways, right? So just like before, we can use, you can use a construction line and draw 10 feet out if you want to. I'm just gonna go ahead and start drawing my exterior walls on the exterior wall layer because I've got the information I need to trim this stuff back and cut out my windows. So I'm just gonna draw a line straight down from the corner of our, this is gonna end up being the bottom left corner. If we were faced from the inside of the building, it'll be the bottom right when we flip it around. And we're gonna draw just straight down. Again, straight up, straight down from our story pole at 10 feet, and then straight over from our side here. This is gonna be the basic outline of the wall. We can move to our window layer and do the same thing as we did before, right? So instead of just drawing this window line up, we're going to use our story pole to create the top and the bottom. So I can draw the line from here. One more. And then I can draw the lines off of my story pole. So one for the top and one for the bottom. So, and once we have that drawn, you can come and use your trim command just as before, and you can trim multiples at a time. Maybe I want to leave that construction line for something, I don't know. Delete that, delete these, and then you can individually select the edges. And now we have a window that is 2 foot to the bottom, 9 foot to the top, and the width of this window, which I believe is 7 feet. One thing I want to do just for reference so we can kind of understand how this all works, and there's a reason I put this window offset of center. So if I put a dimension in here, this is 3'6", and this dimension is 4'6". Okay, so if I was standing on the outside, so here's me. We're gonna put me right here in red, and I'm standing right here. Okay, and I am facing this direction, right? So I'm facing oh. All right. So I'm standing here facing this window on the outside. How many feet are to the right of the window? I'm standing
It
in
would
the
be 4
circle.
foot, it would be 4'6" to the
It
right
would
of the
be
window.
4'6". Correct. Absolutely, it's 4'6". Okay, so this is where it gets pretty important to understand how we're looking at these drawings, because every time we create a butterfly, right, we are just creating that butterfly as the lines fall, right, as where the lit window is to the outside, where the doors are, where the height is. What it's not accounting for right now is what the orientation looks like. So I could just go ahead and rotate this, and I'm gonna put a mark right here. I'm gonna go back to my construction line, and I'm just gonna put a diagonal line right here. And I know that that's where I want my bottom left corner of my wall to be. Okay, does that make sense? We still want to keep this oriented right. So what am I going to need to do to this to make it look like we are looking from the outside looking in?
You're gonna have to mirror it and then you're gonna have to rotate it.
We're going to have to mirror and rotate. Exactly. Okay, so I like to, it doesn't matter which way you go. I like to rotate. I actually like, because this makes it a little bit easier for people to understand, I like to move it first, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to select this whole wall. And right now, if I was looking from the inside looking out, this would be my bottom left corner, right? So I'm going to put that bottom left corner at the bottom left corner of what I want my wall to be. So I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to use my move command, and I'm going to move this down to here. So now that it's moved down to here, when it does a couple things, it frees up the original spot for me to rotate, right? So now I can take this whole thing and use this base point and rotate about it. Okay, so I can use my rotate, select this as my base point, and I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees to the left. Are we done? Is that a yes? Was that a no? Are we done? Does this look right? If I'm looking at this wall, is that how I am looking right here?
No,
So
it
you need
still
to
needs to be.
flip it,
You need
right?
to, you
We
need
need to
mirror it.
flip it, right? So we rotated it, right? We did the first command, we rotated that. Now we need to flip it, right? So we're going to mirror this across this line, and then same as we did here, move it back. Okay, so I'm going to mirror it using this as my edge. Now this time, yes, I want to erase the source object. And now, if I know how long this is, I could move it back. But here's the thing, I don't like to remember certain lengths. So I've got so many numbers in my head that remembering that that's 15 feet long is something I don't want to do. But I told myself where I wanted that bottom corner to be, right? That's what I put that diagonal mark in here. So now I can take this whole thing and move it from this bottom left corner to there. And now we have something that looks exactly as if I was standing here. And I'll change this to windows just so when I put my dimensions on for these windows, they actually make sense, right? But now I've got a window dimension that's 4'6" to the right and 3'6" to the left, right? You can see if you were standing on the inside, that 4'6" would be to your left, right? So butterflies they're not complicated. You just need to think about what's the end result? What do I need to do to flip this around? So and this is the case. You always want to be here. So if I bring this here, it's always going to be outside facing in. Now we'll make section views and other types of things, but when you're making elevations, you're typically always looking from the outside in. Okay, if you do an inside cut, it's a little bit different. Okay, and we'll talk about interior elevations. But now, if I wanted to, I could, just to show you that this is what I'm doing, I could mirror that over there. Oh. No. And then last but not least, right? So if this helps you to understand what you're trying to accomplish with the elevation, go ahead and put some markers in there, right? It's helpful to understand what you're looking at and how you're trying to accomplish that goal. Because every one of these needs to be rotated and mirrored just a little bit differently. Okay. All right, we are at 7:45. I'll tell you what, we're going to do this. Another half a point extra credit opportunity. Okay. If you want to turn this in just like that, that's fine. 2 points for the night. If you want to build your other two go ahead.
Sorry. Oh shit. My bad.
You're good. No worries. If you want to go ahead and submit this like it is, you can get 2 points for the night. If you want to complete this, okay, and complete this means, let's get your hatching in if you can. Let's put some dimensions in. Let's make this look like a drawing that you guys, like last week, you turned in a bunch of drawings, right? They look something like this with all of our different dimensions, right? Same type of things apply. If you've got something that should be measured, throw a measurement on it. And the other thing is we can come back here and turn our dimensions back on, and there we go. They're already there for us. So we don't necessarily need to dimension everything, but to help with your orient yourself, it does play a beneficial part to give yourself, this window dimension, right? So you understand that this distance is really this distance here. Does that make sense? Just so you can help orient yourself. I don't care if they're on there, if they're flipped the right way, that's good enough. But if you want an extra half a point, finish out the rest of these elevations. Any questions? Let's open it up for 5 minutes or so. Anything you want me to go over again? Again, same concept with these ones, right? Your story pole is going to be upside down, right? So just think about how you want to draw that. If you wanted to draw it from this bottom left and make it right side up, you can. The problem is you can't utilize those windows to transfer that line down until you mirror that, right? If you just did that and then mirrored it and flipped it, you'd be good to go.
Graham, how would you do the door?
How would I do the door? So good
So
question.
if we were going to do the south elevation.
Okay. So
just red rectangles.
Well, the same thing as we did before, though, right? So here, let's copy it down. I like, good idea. So let's just do, I'll put a construction line on here, give us our 10-foot space distance. Again, I like 10 feet just to give you some working room, right? If you make it too close, you're on top of yourself. Okay, I'm just going to make that 40 feet over. Oh, I guess I'll change. All right, so this is where it gets a little tricky, but let's just go. I'm just going to quickly go through this again. Oh, sorry. This should just be 10. So let's go ahead and make, now one thing you'll want to do that we didn't do before is you're gonna want to, you're gonna want to make another elevation for the door height, right? We made a bottom sill height and a top sill height. We want to make it 7 foot for the door height. Okay. So same thing as before. Again, this is all upside down because you're all coming from the inside, but we're going to flip it. So I'm going to go 4 feet for my sill height. And just because I'm going quick and dirty, I'm going to go 8 foot for my top height. And then I know that this one's 7 feet. I'm not going to dimension it real quick just because sake of time. Okay, so there's that. Now let's put in, so I would typically put in all my windows. That's 8 feet. We need to move this 2 feet, don't we? 2 feet. There we go. That will be right. Okay. So now I typically will do, here's the top of my window. Here's the bottom of my window, and I'll draw my windows first and then trim it all up. And then I'll come back and do the door. So have a good night. If anyone wants to sign off, you can. If you want to watch this, by all means, hang out. All right, so I'm going to trim these all out. I'm going to trim the top of this window all out. And then individually between the windows, I'm going to trim. Now I got my spacing for my windows. All right, last but not least, let's go change this layer to door. And we're going to draw a line off the edge of our door. Same way, right? We're just transferring. And then for this one, let's actually just draw it off the inside edge. Okay, because we're not going to capture that thickness of the door when it's closed. Right? We're going to draw this door closed. Okay, so same thing here off the inside edge. So this will represent a 6 foot opening, right? All right. Last but not least, let's go ahead and draw a line where our top of our door is. And just to make it nice and easy, let's trim it up. Trim out all these other pieces of that door. And then when I go to do this, I can now that I've got all those pieces trimmed out, I can now grab the center point of this line. And now I've got a kind of a door, right? And if you wanted to, you could come here and you could put in a little door handle and mirror it across the middle. Nope. Let's move this up. There roughly, and mirror across the middle. And then no, don't erase the source object. All right. And then last but not least, we can trim out the rest of our lines that we don't need anymore.
Cool.
All right, but you got one more thing. So what's going on with this right now?
So you'd still need to flip it twice.
Why do you need to flip it twice?
So you'd mirror it on this long edge on the bottom, and then you'd flip it once over so that you'd have the outside.
Why do I need to flip it once over?
So that you'd have that. Well, I guess if you just mirror that bottom edge, then you'd have the correct angle, right? Okay,
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. So some things you may need to mirror and rotate. Some things, depending on what it is, right? This whole thing I can now turn that up. And now I could take this whole thing, mirror it across the bottom.
And you're good.
Yes, erase the source object. Move this back up to our starting point.
Story pull line. Yep.
Now
And there
we've
you go.
got, right? So I know it's upside down, right? But how easy is it to flip it and make it right? But if you were to try to draw all these windows in by hand and place them in that, it takes a lot longer than just drawing these story poles and drawing stuff out, especially when you have a lot of them, right?
Right. Well, and more detail too, right? Like flipping everything as a package as opposed to
Right.
drawing
So,
it.
but again, and now to confirm, right? I'm coming here. All right, 4'6", and that lines up right with that 4'6", right? So it's not always going to line up like this. The front is the only one that truly does, right? Because it by default it's set up so if you're standing here looking in, it's the correct orientation. Everything else you will have to just mirror and rotate.
Got it.
But that being said, it's still really easy to make these butterfly views and then orient them the way that they should be, right? So then that way it looks like you're looking from the outside in. Because it'd be really awkward to try to look at it if all the base edges were towards the wall, right? So this whole view would be upside down, right? You want everything to still, even though it's a floor plan and elevations, we still in society, the bottom of an elevation is always down, right? So same thing here. You're not going to have the bottom of your elevation be here and have someone end up mirroring it in their head, right?
Yeah.
So
building that wall,
it can get a little tricky, but just try to understand what you're trying to accomplish with the rotate. And again, that's why I made things a little bit different dimensions here. I didn't just center the window. So it's like, oh, we just sent, it's like, well, okay, that's cool. But
now you need to flip it.
Now you need to rotate it because it technically isn't the right way right now. Right. So go ahead, finish this out if you want an extra half point. And we'll do some more next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate you walking through that.
Thank you, Adam. And again, I want to apologize for leaving you in the waiting room.
Don't worry.
I mean, clearly you weren't lost. So I left some breadcrumbs for you to find too.
Perfect. It was a test.
It was, and you passed. And then I failed and deleted mine, and you had to save me. So
see, things work out for me.
Hey, Graham.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I had a weird thing happen with my hatch, and it was like filling in the windows, and then I was adjusting some of the properties and it froze. So I took a picture of it right before I just ended it, and I don't know that my file is gonna come back, but
that's fine. Submit that. And if you want to,
okay.
I'll post the video. I'll make sure it gets posted. I'll follow up tomorrow with an email saying it's on there. Last week it got kind of tricky. Okay. Here's the problem. When I can upload it straight to Canvas, it takes like 2 minutes and I just approve it, whatever. When I have to upload it to YouTube, it can take 4 hours for it to finish processing. And then I upload it and it won't allow me to publish the link unless the link is live. And so I can't copy the link from 4 hours previous until it's posted, or else it'll just keep rejecting that link. It'll say this link is invalid. And so like I went back and I posted it, and then but apparently I posted it, but it didn't publish. So it was on the module on my end, but you guys couldn't see it. So I will make sure to follow up tomorrow with an email confirming that it's posted wherever it's posted. It'll still be on Canvas, but it might end up having to be a link to YouTube just due to the file size. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'll
Okay.
see you next week. And then the following week, we will not have class, but I will have a video posted. Okay. So the following week, I will have a video and it will essentially get you started with your final projects. Your final projects are just ultimately a culmination of what we've been learning and then you get to put it together in some type of fashion that represents a dwelling that maybe you live in, a place that you maybe want to build, something that's in your imagination, whatever it may be, right? You're going to put your own ideas to paper, or to, you know, to CAD in this point, right? But we're just trying to learn the tools so that way you can replicate this with your own dimensions, your own windows, your own sizes of stuff. Thank you, Ray.
Awesome.
So, but we will have class next week for sure. And then the following one will be, and I will post that video probably way early. Okay. To be honest, I'll probably make that video next week after Wednesday and then just have it done. So I'll post it and get it up there, and then you guys can, then it'll be there a week early. So you can get started on final stuff early, whatever. I don't want it to be a stressor for anybody, right? It's an easy project. It's nothing to worry. It's called a final project just because it's a culmination of your stuff, but it's, you know,
Nothing crazy.
It's nothing crazy. Exactly. Thank you.
Cool.
It's not, some people are all, oh, it's the final. It's like, just keep doing what you're doing. Ultimately, I need to be able to take your plans and say, can I build something from this? Understand where the windows go, understand where the doors are going to go, right? If you just give me a plan view with no dimensions on it, it's like, well, okay, that's cool, but I can't build off of this, right? I don't want to be going into CAD and making my own dimensions. The goal is for it to be a fully dimensioned drawing that I could literally go to the hardware store, grab some lumber, and then start building if I really wanted to. So am I looking for elevations and putting king studs in and headers in and all the framing members? Absolutely not. Okay. This isn't a framing class. If you want to go to that level above and beyond, I've had people build framing plans and it's awesome. Okay. Not a requirement by any means. Okay. I'm just looking for locations of those windows, not how it all needs to get framed to make that happen. Okay.
Cool.
That would be the next version of this class, but we wouldn't even do it here. We'd do it in Revit and have it all cut for you. So
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
right on.
All right, buddy.
Well,
Thank you so
make sure to
much.
sign up. 246 is offered winter quarter, Monday nights. And that's the next class in the series. So
Do you
246.
teach that one too, Graham?
yeah, I do. I teach
Right
that.
on.
And then hopefully there will be, we had an interview, gosh, I guess it was Monday. I was sitting on a Zoom interview. The guy on the other side was sitting on a Zoom interview. We had the same link and we couldn't connect with each other. So my 20-minute interview, 15 minutes of it got wasted with us both sitting on links that was the same link. I don't know. It was annoying. But one thing that came out of it was, you know, I really am pitching that we really need to take the spring version of this class out and replace it with something that's more advanced and is going to be, you know, what actually happens in virtual construction down the line, because spending more and more time building AutoCAD it's cool. You can draw lines, but it's not what we're using in the industry. And I don't want to teach something that is ultimately, if you go into this field, it's great base knowledge to know exactly what we've done, but that's pretty much where I want to end it, is kind of here. Like, you guys get it, the gist of this program. Now let's get into something that actually has some power to it, right? That actually use the same basic commands, but we're not drawing this elevation. We drew that wall, we placed the window, and now we go take a section cut and it's in 3D. We're physically, we move that window in floor plan. Guess where it moves? It moves in elevation view too, right? It's tied together. It's an actual 3D modeled element, whereas this is all just trying to depict what's going on. So
It does seem like that's kind of where classes are headed. This quarter, we rolled out CM 411, which is teaching Navisworks and Revit
Wait.
as one class.
you did.
Well, my program. I work for construction management at UW.
At UW. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
So
Okay.
so the instructor is specializes in BIM.
Okay.
but
Gotcha. So
the-
that's
the
what I'm
class will-
trying. That's my next class that I'm trying to go
Yeah.
to, is to teach that exactly. Because that's where all the fun stuff is. To be honest, like, Once you get some basics, you can draw.
Mhm.
Once you can model, you can model. Now we need to make it so everyone wins, right? And that's the
Sure.
whole point of
Yeah.
this is for all of us to win. Not just my trade, but mechanical, architectural.
Mhm.
Everyone needs to win, or else no one's gonna make it, right?
Sure.
Um,
The
and
value of
that's
that.
the whole advantage of this BIM is to not only pre-plan, but pre-coordinate, right? Know exactly where people are going to be at any given time. So then that way, if you have oh shoot, you know what, that HVAC unit, that's not going to produce enough CFM. We need something bigger. Okay, well, what's bigger? Okay, well, now I put something bigger in the model. Guess what? I'm hitting other things, right? So we can see all those things before we install it in the field. And now we have to go back, rip our crap out, go back and install it again,
Mhm.
right? Because no
There
one's
goes all
paying
your
for
profit.
labor twice, right?
Hmm.
Or I'm coming back to you as a mechanical contractor, and I'm like, dude, why wasn't this right in the design originally? You guys changed this. Now it's caused all this rework. Here's your bill. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it happens here's your change order, right? Happens all the time. But as much as we can be upfront together and coordinate, it just
Mhm.
makes things, and that's where this is going. That's what we need more of, is people that not only can draft, but can coordinate and can be in those meetings so we can all work efficiently from the beginning. Otherwise, everyone's modeling on top of each other with no plan, and then it's now everyone's got to move, right? So
Yeah,
the
I
more
mean,
people
it's
that understand
sounds
how
like
to
a
move,
shared language.
absolutely it is
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
Gra-
yep, that's
Graham,
that. So you work for the construction management department? We'll talk more.
Okay. Yeah, I can try to find that lesson plan. The instructor, just like I said, just rolled out curriculum change.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Well,
Yeah, about a week before Edmonds had their ACCE accreditation.
okay, so you know exactly what
our
I'm talking
our
about.
program did too. Yeah.
Perfect. Right on. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I've been trying for. God, this is my 7th year teaching. So this plan
Nice.
was supposed to be 5 years ago,
Yeah.
but AutoCAD kind of drug on. People in
Mhm.
the department have hung around. There's just been stuff that hasn't allowed it to happen as efficiently as we thought.
Sure. Resource
But
constraints with
that's
COVID.
where it needs to go, because if we could have a 3-part series that actually gets you to the point that when you are out of this program, you would be comfortable going into a BIM setting in any environment, whether it's mechanical, architectural, plumbing, fire sprinkler, HVAC. We need them. We need people. And
Sure.
the biggest thing is the people that are, running jobs, they may have come from the field, which is great, right? We need
Mhm.
people from the field.
Right.
But people from the field a lot of times are not as efficient as an operator as
Sure.
on the computer, right? It's a whole different game. But if you have someone directing traffic and you've got a few people, running the work, I mean, it can, but you need people with the skill set. And that's what
Sure.
we just don't, no one has that ability to learn it because it's not being taught. Like, and I want to also open this up for anybody that's wants to be in anybody that's in a construction trade to come be able to take this class. We've
Sure.
had some people audit with not the second. Okay, yeah, you're good.
yeah, hey Graham.
Yeah.
Hey, do we need to turn for the extra credit? Do we need to turn this in tonight, or
No,
can it be?
no, not at
Oh,
all.
okay.
Not at all. Nope.
All right.
Turn it in as when you can complete it.
All right. Yeah. I can complete this. I understand.
But yeah, I'd love to know
it.
more, Adam, about what's going on
Sure.
in that department, because that's exactly what I'm looking to put in here is another level class. But again, that's a 400 level class, right? Where we only have, you know what I mean? It's a hard
Yeah.
sell in a community, or
Yeah.
not a community, but in a 2-year program.
Yes,
but-
and I do think that it's taught to seniors, but they
Okay.
did to make it more digestible, because it's one of the few BIM classes that are offered. Section A is the lab, so it's
Okay.
roughly 2 hours of hands-on experience with the software, and then section B is about an hour and 40 minutes or so
Per week.
of
So 2 sections per week. And that's
Yeah, so back to back, and it allows again for the hands-on with the software, and then guest lecturers from industry will come in and provide some tips and answer
that's
questions.
great. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
if you have that option, I mean, especially with the amount of alumni that seem really engaged in admins.
and that's the other thing. We've got alumni that are engaged in Edmonds, and there's also so many people that want to go. Maybe you're a foreman, right? That you've been in the field 40 years. You're done, but you got 10 years left because we all need to work till 70 now because, whatever. So
Expensive.
yeah, exactly. So, but you don't want to do that, but getting into a program to learn what you need to learn is really it can be challenging. Now some electricians have stuff through their union hall depending on, but everyone's got different setups. Now a carpenter can't go and take that class, nor would it do him any good, right?
Sure.
So I want to open this up to anyone that wants to take it, whether you're a construction management major or not, and allow people to go through that series and bring in more people in this program. Like teaching online to 25 students is not much different than 15.
Sure.
Especially
Sounds
when
like
you can post a video.
Sounds like maybe you need to put it in a different program. If it was like a I don't know, like a digital modeling in like a business program. I think more
Gotcha.
students would have access to it as opposed to making it a CM class.
Right. So yeah, and I don't know exactly what would need to happen, right? But like if we could shift a few things around, we could open this up for industry people to start taking these classes, and then okay, you want to come into the office. Edmund's got this great program. Go there for a year and then, go learn on your own and get through the 3 BIM classes, right? I mean, we'll have a 1, 2, and 3 series.
I mean, it really sounds like you're thinking about building like a certificate.
Absolutely.
With just a focus on 3D, 4D modeling.
Yeah, absolutely. But we need to get to the level that we can teach that, because right now, if I'm teaching AutoCAD twice a year, I mean, we're never
only
gonna.
got so much time.
Right.
Sure.
So.
Well, keep pushing.
Thank you for the discussion.
You,
I appreciate it.
Totally.
Thanks for everyone for hanging out.
any
I know
other
it's probably
questions?
boring for some of you, but I appreciate the feedback and especially going on in other programs, right? Because I went through the construction management program at WSU. That was where I got my degree from. But we didn't have our BIM program was pretty much this class. Like the class that I'm teaching right now, that's pretty much I mean, maybe we went a little farther in some stuff, but like BIM wasn't a thing when I graduated in 2013. It was knowing, it's coming on the horizon. We knew about it, but they didn't know enough to teach a class on it yet. So we taught basic AutoCAD classes, but there's no 3D modeling. There wasn't. Now there is BIM, right? So now they are starting to work on that and starting to see that in
specialty.
college. Because that field is so, I mean, it takes the right person, but it's such a rewarding field, at least to me, because I'm not just buying material. I'm not just scheduling manpower. I'm putting everything where it needs to freaking go and put it, design that job to the gnat's ass and all the prefab units, and then have my field team literally just plug and play. And they trust the drawings, we trust them, and it really works, but you have to have that modeling skill, right? And you've got to have people that know they can do that, and you trust in coordination. So then that way they feel confident putting in, and whatever it is, maybe it's conduit, maybe it's duct, they know exactly where to put it.
And two, like, I work for a GC, and so many of the times the architects just half-ass it. And,
Hey, well, so check this out. Where do architects place stuff? In a 3D model, where do architects place stuff?
I do not know. Incorrectly.
That's the problem. So a lot of times in Revit or in AutoCAD, everyone's used to working in a plan view, right? You're used to looking at something just like we did here, where it's looking straight down. When you place a receptacle, when you place a light switch, a lot of times in any modern program, that symbol not just has a symbol, but actually has a 3D light switch that goes with it. Well, that light switch they're placing at 6 inches off the ground because they're not paying attention to where it goes. It's so anything in an architectural model for as far as placement plan goes, it's probably pretty good. Elevation wise, it's garbage because of what's going on is they're used to looking down and symbols and they're used to making elevations with 2D stuff. And it's all just based on line work, same way you're drawing it right now. Whereas I'm working in an environment and they should be working in an environment that's a 3D environment, paying attention to the Z axis, right? So I'm looking, I may be dropping it in, but I'm taking like, here's Revit. I'm taking a cut of it. I'm taking like something where it actually lives in, like when I look at this piece of equipment, why is my auto section not working? It's somewhere. Where's my box? Where's my section box? Auto section. It's up in some screen somewhere. I can't see where things are at. That's dumb. Let me go and see if I've got a GG open. Anyhow, this will work. May not be that exact piece of equipment, but you'll see what I mean. Oh geez. So yeah, that's in wireframe. Let's put it into something shaded so you can see what's going on. But everything has physical 3D elements. We're putting every single connector in here
Yeah, so that screws.
because
crazy.
all of this is being prefabbed and pre-punched. So everything is already set. You're just landing the wire. But that's the biggest thing. Like this light, right? This light has an elevation of 8'11" and 1/8 to the bottom because it's hosted to the bottom of this piece of strut. Whatever that strut is at, 9'1". That's exactly where they want it, right? So that's where they put it. We model it. Now, a lot of times architects, they'll say, hey, we want this at, 8 feet or 10 feet, but they'll drop their light fixtures in, they'll be sitting on the floor, right? They don't pay attention to the Z axis. Everything is 2D. So
I imagine this would cut down on RFIs like crazy.
Yeah, huge. So, but if you're not modeling in 3D and you're just paying attention to 2D and that's all you know, and that's where this class is. This is just a 2D class, right? Like the class that we do in Revit, really cool because the first night we do essentially the entire thing that we've done in this class, or by your time you're done with your final project, you do it in the first night of Revit. The whole thing.
Wow.
We draw all your walls, windows, sections, cuts, schedules, the whole thing. Whole 9 yards in 2.5 hours.
Dang.
Cool.
So
Exciting.
and then jumping from that into like Navisworks, which is the next program, it's an even bigger jump, right? Where there's so much to it, but I can't teach it all if I'm stuck teaching how to draw lines. So one day,
I mean, I think that
it'll
makes
get
sense.
there.
The detail is so neat and like just the intricacies that you can see with that model though.
Oh, and this is just, yeah. And I mean, every single part and piece. Okay, well here, let's do this. Let's take this and go to scope box. All right. You ready for intricacy? This is going to take a second to load. Come on.
Is this
Hopefully.
the data center?
Yeah, it is. So this is just one of a panel. This is one section of one piece of gear, and there's thousands and thousands, and everything is modeled to this level of detail.
Is that like a server or something?
Wow.
Is that like one server or? Okay.
This is no. So these aren't server. This is just equipment to power the servers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the servers technically aren't even really modeled in here. Okay, here's this building.
Whoa.
Hold up. There we go. There's your footprint. So that's about 1/4 mile long.
Oh,
It's too big. It's thinking too hard. Ah, shit. I broke it. Here, let's do this though. Let's get out of this view. This has all the links in it, so I'm seeing all the background, and that's what's taking all the time to generate, is all of the background links in this.
Yeah.
If I here. Let's go to scope. Let's go to just one cell. You're back. Did you put it over there when you tried to move? Sweet. All right. All right. So here, I'm going to turn off this background though, so we can see what's. Huh? Yeah, we're still here. Yeah. Okay, here, let's just turn these links off real quick and then you can see this background. Hide. Right, now this should take away all that grayscale stuff. And now we're just left with, oh, okay, why is that?
Wow.
So that's all the data server racks right there. Is what you're seeing in gray right here. Those are all data servers, and then electrical wise, it's all these pieces of gear. So not only are these pieces of gear, but then I've got like details for every piece of gear and where they're going to punch it.
oh, damn.
And every single piece of connector. And there will be thousands and thousands of pieces of gear that get punched. It's all pre-punched. Everything's going to be, and it's all pre-punched and pre-coordinated. And like this window, see that green line, the green line? That's my window opening. So like I can't be outside of that. So like I found today that a bunch of people in my project have been modeling kind of poorly. And let's go to like 10.1. And these weren't turned on for some reason. And people, I don't know if you see a problem there, but
It's outside
Sure.
the box.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if they went to go drill that right now, that wouldn't work. Technically, this section right here from the green line to the edge, this essentially it's 3 inches. It's a 3-inch piece of angle line that's making the framework for all these pieces of switch gear, right? So they've got this framework inside of them, and then they're wrapped with sheet metal essentially. But you can't
you've
drill
got a-
through that. And
Right.
you do,
You've got a
and
whole
that's
connector
structural
that's out.
damage to it, and you will not get an inspector to pass it. So you've just wasted time, thousands of dollars, just because you were a 1/4 inch off. Right.
So how
like,
did they remedy that?
I am fixing it before it ever gets anywhere. But that's why this job is so important. From my standpoint, is all these things we can make happen and we can make right. You do a poor job at it and it's just hurt. All it does is hurt you. So having people that are competent modelers that can detail accurately and neatly, model things, like there's stuff in here that literally there's conduits like on top of each other. It's like they can't install that way. So if they produce a drawing that's telling them to punch these holes, they go punch all these holes just blindly because that's what this drawing said. Now you got all types of openings that aren't right. So anyhow, there's
Amazing.
always little things like this. But I mean, just going through and having this quality control beforehand, right? So it can all be done properly, punched. It's a lot of work, but it's, it comes back, right? You see the reward on it. And the labor savings is so big because all the labor is done either like in-house or in a shop, right? You're not punching stuff in the field every single hole. So
Right.
your productivity level is like 3 times the rate. And you
Sure.
can lay out a whole can, have a guy literally spend 10 minutes lay out the center of all of these and have another guy come in and just punch them. You got one guy laying, one guy punching, and they type in, or they write 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, right? And some guys just with a hole saw and a punch and popping them out. So, but all that they don't have to do after the gear's been set on site on top of the gear later, right? While they've got all the conductors trying to land, right? So there's so many advantages to having all this stuff done prior, but it has to be right in order for it to work. And that's the risk. So as much as we can mitigate the risk and coordinate it, I mean, then it prevents that risk, right? It takes it away and it makes now something that we can roll out over and over and over, right? And gain that efficiency. Whereas if they're starting from scratch every single time, there's no efficiency there.
Yeah, you're taking a lot of the guesswork out of it for the field.
So, and I would love to have students out of this program come in and be detailers. Like they're totally could happen. I've had a couple students that have shown an interest to do it, and you know, we need more experience than what we can give in the 2 classes that I have. At least one more would be helpful, right? At least the one knowing about how coordination works. And we'd break up into teams, have a mechanical team, a fire alarm team, or a fire sprinkler team, and I'd make a model that everything's screwed up, right? And so we got to go through and fix it our whole class project would be a coordinating, 11 weeks of coordination. So,
Sure.
And it would be cool.
That sounds really cool, man.
Real life.
That sounds dope.
Yeah, that's what I want to do if we can make it happen. So, Adam, I'd love to see whatever curriculum, at least the ideas that we're trying to roll out there. That would be really cool. I want something that I can present to somebody else and say, look, other people are doing this. Like, we need to get on board.
Sure.
So, and I think that's happening, but I know that it's just this conversation started in 2019. And here we are almost 2025, and there's been the only headway we've made is that I took over teaching the AutoCAD class. So now this could happen, but we still have 2 sessions of it. We just need to advance this program. So
gotcha. Well, I'll see if I can at least get maybe a copy of the syllabus.
Whatever, just anything would be great, just to give a little bit more leverage on my end here, because I know that's what we're trying to do. That's what needs to happen. We don't need to teach this class twice. I mean,
sure.
It's
I don't even know that we offer it.
And that's what I'm saying.
I think architecture might have a crash course.
They have a basic. I'm sure they've got some type of an AutoCAD class to learn to draw basically the same way you're learning to hand draw, just on a computer, right? Because that's architecture. Hand drawing's a big deal still in the architecture world, right? Learning to draw that, design that. I was an architecture student for 1 week. I failed my first project. No, I was a student for 1 week in architecture. My freshman year, I was in the drum line. We had a trip over to play in the Seahawks Stadium, and the
Blue Thunder.
No, that's third line. I actually almost out of college. I tried out and made the Blue Thunder, but I couldn't make the commitment for it because of just too many things, just being a new employee at different places. But I actually went to college on a drumline scholarship. So
awesome.
I'm a drummer.
Not too many people do it.
But yeah, so I went over for the weekend, right? The school, both the book supply stores were out of all the supplies for the project. I had to turn in the project on a Saturday, and we didn't have it. And it's like I was already failing, and it's like this is not the course for me. Like I didn't jack with it.
And I mean, I have a couple friends who did architecture. It's a pretty time intensive.
Oh yeah, it is. Time intensive is to say the least. Yeah. I mean, construction management's got some time for it, but it's nowhere near.
No, I was
putting together gluing models. Oh my God. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go. Thanks, guys. Great discussion.
Thanks, Graham. Have a good evening. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for chatting.
All right, I'm sorry.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay, so click on it. Okay, so then just come in here. You just click right here and you can practice that stuff. Okay, so you're doing yours is the same thing. So you need to go find. You have that? So we can change this here. to this. Yeah, you know, so we need to. So it's playing with that scale, but you may need to do the points. I'm saying, I said you could if you needed to go into that, but most of the time you would think you did scale. But that was the biggest thing. Points, you had to select them, so it's trying to have it selected. So after this has stated, all the hats. You can do the same thing. The little hats. Now that you do it, click something from the last one of the arm. So, see what you- So that's why it's already. Now remember, it's fake. But I one, so now if you go and click on this, you go click on the hat. Now, see what you want? That's left here. No, that's fine. I'm getting down. So it's just a scale, and it's all relative to whatever that pattern is. So sometimes you have to scale it up, sometimes down. Oh, that's because you had a little one. So this ortho is on. I like to draw that line just because I know that's the point. If I draw a straight line, like it's really easy for that to blend in with something else. A diagonal line allows me to see it. So you had your ortho on, which is the one right here, which is saying, hey, I can only draw a line straight up or straight right. If you take this off, it's not the same. That's how. It was just a visual marker for me, and I know that the top right corner of that was where I wanted. So. No, you're not. You're really good. So yeah, just draw a line right now. Just draw a line off there. No, you're stretching that. It's good. It's good. That big line. Or the big line. Put the bottom corner. All right. It takes me a little bit, but I don't quit. No, you don't. I try to. You did really good.